Can we actually reverse biological aging and stop deadly diseases like cancer, heart disease, dementia, etc.? And that's the question scientists are asking right now. And the surprising answer is yes. In many ways, we can. So imagine we have two friends, both are the same age, but they look and actually they themselves feel completely different. So one of them spends weekends on overnight hikes, climbing mountains, and has the energy to chase after his grandkids. And the other one is sitting at the doctor's office, weighed down by diabetes, high blood pressure, and joint pain, struggling just to walk across the parking lot. On paper, they're both the same age, but their health outcomes couldn't be further apart. Of course, most people would shrug and they would say, well, it's just the genetics. And yes, there are some conditions where genes directly cause disease. But for most of us, genes actually don't dictate our future. They don't guarantee illness. They simply predispose us. So the real question is, will that predisposition actually turn into reality? And that depends on whether certain genes are switched on or kept off. So think of your DNA as this massive library filled with millions of books, and you don't read all of them at once. Life, meaning your lifestyle, your environment, your habit, decides which chapters get opened. So, like, if the wrong chapter opens, like the one that is titled Cancer or Accelerated Aging, then that story starts to unfold. Welcome back. I'm Dr. Maria Azizian, a board certified general surgeon and an IFM certified functional medicine physician. On this channel, I share health tips on skin health, food and supplements, functional medicine, surgery, and the latest medical research to help you feel your best. And if that sounds good, please like, share with your friends and family, and subscribe. So let's talk about the drivers of disease. So let's meet some genes. So there's a gene called HER2, HER2, that is very important in some breast cancers. When this gene becomes overactive or it becomes activated, it tells the breast cells to multiply nonstop, chaotically. And they just keep going out of control. And obviously, that leads to breast cancer. Or there's another gene called P53, often called the guardian of the genome. And its job is to patrol your cells, find damaged ones, and shut them down. But in many colon cancers, P53 itself gets silenced. So without this guardian, the brakes are gone and the rogue cells slip through and the person gets colon cancer. There are also genes called gerogenes, the fast forward buttons of aging. And when these genes, these gerogenes, switch on, your body clock actually speeds up. Suddenly, cells wear out faster, the heart stiffens sooner, and the memory starts to fade. And that's why you can have two people at age 70 that can look decades apart. One is still hiking, and the other one is already frail. And the difference often lies in whether these gerogenes are awake or kept quiet. Lifestyle choices, exercise, sleep, social connection can keep them down, can actually calm them down. And here's what makes this even more exciting. The latest research shows that we can actually shift our biological age. At the Frailty in Older Adults 2025 Congress, and the link is in the description, researchers explain that biological aging is driven by these very specific gerogenes, the ones that we just discussed. One striking study published in Nature Aging found that a 70-year-old man born in the 1950s had the same physical and mental ability as a 60-year-old man born in the 1940s. What does it show? This shows that intrinsic abilities like memory, strength, and resilience can shift depending on access to healthcare, education, and even financial resources. A decline in these abilities is now recognized as one of the strongest predictors of future dependency. In other words, how we live and the support we have can literally change how fast we age. And then let's talk about protective genes, the aging suppressors, your DNA repair crew. These tiny genes are constantly patching up the everyday damage that your cells take from sunlight, toxins, and just from living. So if the repair team gets switched off, the damage piles up. And that's why, for example, skin cancers like basal cell carcinoma often appear after years of sun exposure and sometimes my patients say, well, but I never go in the sun and etc. But then when we start talking, they say, oh yeah, when I was young, I was a lifeguard or I was in the sun all the time. So, and that exactly makes sense because the repair system ultimately simply just can't keep up. And it's not just skin. Weak repair pathways are linked to faster aging in the brain, the heart, and even in the immune system. Good sleep, nutrients like, for example, B vitamins, even cruciferous vegetables, they all strengthen this repair. The biggest question, what makes the difference? What wakes these dangerous genes up or keeps the protective ones alive? So processed foods and sugar, that's the first thing, of course, I'm going to say, because they fuel inflammation. They flip cancer-promoting genes on. And that's why obesity is a risk factor for breast and colon cancers. The next big one is toxins in the environment. Cigarette smoke scars DNA and activates these oncogenes, making lung cancer far more likely, as all of us know. The next big one is stress and lack of sleep. Constant stress hormones change how genes behave and weaken your immune guard. And that's why stress often triggers shingles, the virus that was hiding inside your body, but now your defenses dropped and it literally comes to the surface. Protective choices like exercise, colorful vegetables, deep sleep, and social connections can flip on protective genes, keep your DNA intact, and slow aging. The next big question is what can I do about it? And this is where modern genetic testing becomes powerful. I find that many people are fearful because they fear it will only bring bad news, the genetic testing. But today's testing is designed for prevention, probably even more than for prediction. It shows you where your body needs support. For example, maybe you don't process folate or B12 well. So without them, DNA repair stalls and cancer risk rises. But with the right supplement, your repair system can be restored. Or another example, maybe you have slower detox genes, and that means that toxins linger longer. And with the right foods like broccoli, kale, Brussels sprout, you can actually speed up clearance. You can actually improve the detoxification of your liver. Or another example, maybe your methylation genes are weaker. They're not optimal. So methylation is a process. It's how your body silences harmful genes and repairs DNA. Without methylation, your risk of cancer and heart disease goes up. But again, with the right nutrients, you can turn that pathway back on. So genetic testing isn't about doom. It's about building a roadmap, a plan to keep protected genes switched on and harmful ones quiet. So back to those two friends that we had in the beginning. So one is hiking mountains, the other one is sitting in the clinic. At first glance, it may look like fate. But science shows us that it's about the invisible switches inside their DNA, switches that can be influenced by lifestyle, by choices, and even by modern medicine. Genes may load the gun, but environment, lifestyle, and our choices actually pull the trigger. And the hopeful truth, you have far more control over those switches than you think. By making the right choice and by using tools like genetic testing, you can change the story that your DNA tells. So, what can you do about all of that? If you are curious about your own genetic switches, the ones that affect aging, repair, and even cancer risk, then modern medical grade genetic testing will give you answers and a personalized plan on how to work with your genes. And the same as at many genetic testing centers at our functional medicine clinic, we use advanced genetic testing to help patients strengthen their DNA repair, to quiet down as much as possible these dangerous genes and take back control of their health in general. So call us, schedule a visit, or check out our website. It's in the link below in the description below to learn about how genetic insights can guide you to live longer, stronger, and healthier. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And I'm looking forward to reading your comments. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time. Bye-bye.